Hey guys, it's been quite a while since I made a video. I actually looked back, saw it's been 5 months since I made a video, which is mind-blowing to me because it seems like it was just a couple weeks ago that I was pretty much making a full-time job out of helping navigate the small business loans and unemployment and everything that we were going through as small business owners. It's been 7 months since I made the video that I got the most impact from, the most people reached out to me after, and that was the video I made kind of about our mental health situation. I titled it something like, "If you're not handling this well, you're not alone." And I kind of got more open and vulnerable about how stressful and difficult and depressing all this is. And that was the video of the least helpful one because it had literally no information financially for people, but it was the one that most people reached out to me about. And I started thinking about it yesterday, realizing once the financial aid stuff, once everybody got through that, once we all worked together, we applied for our loans, the loans were funded, our unemployment assistance came through, I lost touch with everyone. I kind of gave up. I feel like there was nothing else for me to do, especially with the wildfires. Couldn't go outside. I didn't feel like there was a place for me anymore. I fulfilled my goal, which was helping as many people as possible get, the financial situation as in line as they could for what help was available, the small amount of help. And after that, I kind of quit trying because I didn't know what else to do. And for me, that was the first step down a really long, dark path that I've been on for the last 5 months. And I would say since June, I started having some health issues. I really have struggled deeply with that and have spent hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars trying to get that situated. It has been so hard on me. I'm not used to feeling out of control, and all of a sudden, not only I'm not in control of my own business, I'm not in control of what I can do day in and day out, and now I feel completely I'm not even in control of my body. But I have not handled it that well, and I didn't recognize that it spurred me into a pretty bad depression. And I'm not somebody who tends to get depressed. I'm somebody who usually stays really positive, sees the bright side of things, and I'm always looking forward. But it really took I don't want to say hitting rock bottom, but close to that, getting to a point where I was completely miserable and making everybody around me miserable, to really realize how bad it's gotten. I think when this first started, we all were calling each other, checking in on each other constantly. I know all the people I know that own small businesses, we were on the phone with each other for hours every day, and we were navigating through okay, how do we make a plan? How do we save our businesses, save our houses, our, everything we have? And then it's that was 8 months ago next week. And now here we are 8 months later. Some things are open, some things are closed, some people are doing okay. A lot of our friends have lost their businesses, lost their homes. They're in horrible situations, and I've internalized all that so much. My freedom of choice has always been the most important thing in the world to me. So I've gotten really caught up and lost in the negativity of it, and I've had some people said some horrible things about me and to me, especially when I was putting out the videos on all the financial aid information. I had people said some really nasty things to me, and I did a pretty good job at the time of just deleting comments, blocking them or whatever, but I know it affected me in the long run. Anyways, getting to a point where I realized I didn't have much of a life left. I just was so miserable. I couldn't even laugh or relax or find happiness at all. And if anybody even tried to suggest I should feel happy about anything, I was angry about it, which is so wrong. but that's, to me, that's like my rock bottom of depression or anxiety or whatever. And I think that rock bottom is like a completely miserable place to be, but it's also a really good place to be, because it's where it hits you and you go, whoa, who am I even being right now? So anyway, I had a great conversation with a friend yesterday, and it really hit me hard. And I had kind of reached out and told him how I'd been feeling about things, and he is a motorcycle racer. That's his passion in life, and he's getting into teaching it. And he told me an analogy that's really important to him, which he said, to race motorcycles, you want the perfect conditions. You want the exact right warm, clear weather. You want the right tires on your bike. You want everything to be, the certain temperature on the track for your tires to hit it just right. And it's got to be dry and this much humidity and everything. And he said, and then you can show up, for a big race weekend and it pours down rain. And he said, what are you going to do? You're going to sit on the sidelines and cry about it? No, you're going to learn to race in the rain. And that, like, it gave me chills and goosebumps. And I don't know how, like, it hit me so hard that when he said that, you've got to learn to race in the rain. No, it's not what anybody wants. It's not what anybody hoped for or planned for, but your choices are to sit it out or race in the rain. And he told me when he has terrible anxiety, he actually pulls up videos of motorcycles racing in the rain, and it soothes him. He watches like the intense training and planning that goes into riding in such adverse conditions. I thought that was pretty awesome. And it struck me really hard, and I've had that thought constantly, and I even looked up some of the videos and stuff out of curiosity, but it got me thinking on another path. Because I've done a lot of, I read a ton of books and do a lot of studying on various different business things and self-improvement things. And one of the biggest people of like the last decade was Carol Dweck. She wrote a book called Mindset. And she made this, discovery that mindset truly is the only real determination of like your level of success and happiness is mindset. And she found that there's two different kinds of mindset. And listening to all this, reading through this, and looking at different examples, it's totally mind-blowing how real it is. There's fixed mindset and there's growth mindset. And people with fixed mindset, they can't ever break out of the box that they're in. And the fixed mindset means they think that you are born with a certain set of capabilities and talents, and whatever you're born with, that's what you have. And that's what everyone has, is what they're born with, and that's what you get. And those kind of people don't believe in even trying to break out of any barriers or reach for anything in particular, because that's it. What you're born with, you have. You accept it, and you just learn to live with it until you die. And not surprisingly, a lot of those, those are the people that end up committing suicide, that end up never fulfilling their dreams or never trying to change careers or do something they're really passionate about, because they believe it's pointless. Like, why even try? This is who I am. This is what I was given. Now, the other mindset is called a growth mindset. And those are people who believe they can have anything they want, do anything they want, be anything they want. They just have to learn how. But that all the tools are there, and anybody's brain is capable of learning it. And that's what it comes down to, is the neuroplasticity of your brain. Your brain is actually capable of changing. It can physically change. And that's scientifically proven. So the growth mindset is obviously the correct mindset. If you believe that and understand that and work towards it, then it opens up the entire world to you. Any possibility you want, everything you possibly do. So I've forgotten about this completely. I learned about it a long, long time ago, and it's referenced all the time in a lot of the podcasts I listen to and things. But of course, it's the last thing been on my mind for the last 8 months. All I've thought about is coronavirus, masks, businesses shutting down, businesses opening down. Oh, they're open halfway. Oh, now they're shut back down again. Oh, my phone's ringing off the hook. Now everybody's gone again. every morning wake up, what kind of shit show is today going to be? The election. Oh my God, the people, the fighting, everything. That's all that's been in my head. And like for me, because I'm so goal oriented, when all this started, I was like, I gotta kill it. Like, as long as this lasts, I'm gonna do some really great, meaningful things. And then I couldn't, because I was depressed and physically sick. So I haven't accomplished a single thing. And to me, I was telling myself that meant I failed. I failed the coronavirus test somehow. And realizing now, well, no wonder I've been so depressed and upset every single day. I feel like I'm failing, when in reality, I've completely and totally managed to survive, which is, I think, our only assignment right now. If you can go beyond that, that's amazing. But especially for those of us who own businesses, managing to survive and just get through this that's your only assignment. Figure out a way to do that. So it's already hard enough going through what we're going through. And it just blows my mind every time I really dig in and talk to somebody or meet somebody new. Every person I come across seems to have this entire set of really stressful things on top of what we're all already going through. And so I'll tell you about the last 6 weeks of my life, which have been the worst 6 weeks of my entire life. Keep in mind, my business has lost, it's like somewhere over $50,000 at this point. I've made it by through like pandemic unemployment, a small business loan, deferring payments off of loans that I was eligible to do that. So even though I feel like I'm doing okay, I'm only doing okay because I attacked it and found all the loopholes. Anyway, so the last 6 weeks, I'm already dealing with, horrible financial stress and major physical health issues, constant doctor appointments, blood tests, therapy, everything. So that's my daily life. Let's add to it. 6 weeks ago, we had a funeral for my best friend. My heart goes out to anybody grieving during this, because it is a much harder time. When you can't just go out and meet up with people and do things in person and get back to living a normal life, it's easy to get stuck in feelings of grief. Shortly after that, literally 3 or 4 days after that, or like within a week, Justin put a knife through almost all the way through his hand and had to go to the emergency room and get stitches, and that changed things for a little bit because he couldn't use one of his hands. It was also, kind of scary. We had this terrible week where we had to call 911 3 times in 1 week or something. A lot of people saw my pictures from the Clementine Dam rescue. I was up there working, and a woman fell, and I thought she was dead. She didn't move for like a good 15-20 minutes, and then she finally was able to move, so they called in an airlift, and we watched this really dramatic rescue from a helicopter from the CHP. And then it was just a few days after that, I witnessed a woman violently beating a child. And that was the hardest thing I've ever seen in person. And I called 911 and spare you all the details, but nothing happened. I ran into her the next day with the kid, and she was taunting me and basically I'm going to beat his ass again. And it was one of the most upsetting things I've ever been through. I have a lot of regret. I think I handled the situation wrong, and there's nothing I can do about it. I won't even get into all the therapy I've gone through over that and the upset. 2 days after that, I was doing a photo shoot in the Bay Area at the beach, and was the first witness to a kid pulling a gun on other kids 10 yards, 15 yards from where I was standing. So again, a 911 call and a pretty dramatic day. That was within 1 week. And then the next week, my camera broke, which is a $3,000 oops, upset, stressful day. And then a great trip. I tried to take a little time off, take a little trip up to the Eastern Sierras, and my car broke down. Huge stressful thing, obviously, after everything I've been through with vehicles. And then a week after that was Halloween. which we had spent hundreds of dollars on costumes and put this big barbecue together, invited, you know, a bunch of people. And then as we sat down to dinner, Justin got a piece of steak lodged in his airway. There was, the Heimlich was done multiple times, like every effort to fix it failed. So he ended up having to go to the emergency room, and they were not able to help. They tried multiple things, like hammered down everything, and they couldn't fix it. So he got put in an ambulance, sent an hour away to another hospital for emergency surgery. It was this just really terrifying, dramatic thing. I had a friend in my 20s who died choking on a piece of steak. So I did not handle that well. I did not jump in and help. I cowered in a corner, like crying all night. I feel like I didn't handle any of these things well. You know, the woman that beat the child, I absolutely should not have just sat and relied on 911. I should have stopped her. And I've told the cops that, you know, took the report, I told them that, like, if I had it to do over again, I would have got in her face and physically stopped her, because she would have beat my ass. The woman would have absolutely beat me up, but then I could have pressed charges on her. The little kid can't. Every single one of these situations, the kid with the gun on the beach, I hesitated so long before I called 911. That could have cost somebody's life. So anyway, the point of all this, like this, by the way, was literally 6 week period of time that all this has happened in, which is just, okay, understandable why I've been just a complete disaster. I haven't had time to really process one thing before the next thing has happened. But my point about all this is that I didn't have the skills to cope with any of this. Like, I didn't confront that woman and stop her, because I was raised as the tiny child. I was the baby of the family. I'm 5'2". I'm little, and I was always raised to protect myself. Always. Be careful. You're too little. You'll get hurt. Don't do that. You know, and I fight all the time to try to break out of that, but also like being aware that I'm a really tiny woman, so I have to be careful of things. So that's just an example. I don't have the skills necessarily to deal with that the way that I should have, or I wish I would have, or what would have been best for everyone involved. Instead, I just did the instinct thing, which was call 911. You know, every single one of those situations, Justin was choking. I didn't jump up and help. I saw that somebody else could, and I went and hid. I don't have kind of the like natural born or even taught mechanisms to deal with the incredible amount of the like shit that's been thrown my way this last month and a half or 6 months or whatever you want to call it. And so because of that, I've spent all this time being really hard on myself, like hating myself for not doing this right, not doing that right. And why doesn't everyone around me understand that everything is really hard and upsetting right now? That conversation with my friend yesterday was just amazing, because it reminded me, you know, the motorcycle analogy, and then it led me to remind me of the mindset thing, and that it's like, it's totally okay that I wasn't just naturally born with the ability to handle a global pandemic that's shut our country down. Like, none of us were really necessarily born with that. Some people are really naturally better at handling it than others, but like, it's not something to be hard on yourself about if you're not handling it well, but it is something to look at and realize you can grow it. You can grow the mindset you need to get through this. You can grow the skills you need to get through this. And so that's, you know, I feel like this huge weight off my shoulders realizing that, something I feel like I should have known or realized the whole time. Instead of being hard on myself for not handling all this as well as I wish I was, I can just learn how to. I have some ideas on how to do that. I've kind of been writing lists of, you know, what are the skills that I need to handle this better, and then ideas of how do I build those skills. Like, for me, one thing is discipline. I lack discipline so much. And for me, the best, happiest, most successful, healthiest I've ever been is when I've had very strict routines. And, you know, with everything shut down, everything we've been through, nobody's had a routine. We haven't had to do anything or be anywhere. I let all of it out the window. So for me, discipline is one of the really important things. I have to like enact discipline in my life again. Learning skills of toughness and resilience, and for me, positivity. Like, it's almost like because I couldn't feel positive anymore, I expected everyone else around me to be negative. And if anyone tried to be positive, it was like, it made me mad. I don't know how to explain that. It made me upset because it felt like if I'm really upset and you're not, then that means you're saying I'm wrong for feeling this way. So it's like I really just, I either wanted you to be miserable too, or I just wanted to sit alone. And so because of that, I know I've cut myself off from a lot of interaction. Anyway, my own personal stuff isn't really that important. It's just more of, I've had a handful of people, again, people you would never believe, but just strong, tough men that you pass every day at work. They're farmers, they're everything, who've told me like they're having horrible anxiety. They're having panic attacks, they're having trouble sleeping, they're feeling totally disconnected or like afraid of their neighbors. And that is something to really acknowledge. You know, when people who've never felt anxiety in their life are struggling so hard right now, that's huge. And it also means like you should check on the people that already struggled with anxiety or depression or, you know, fears or anything, because those people are doing really badly now. I just think it's important to know. I've been getting like so frustrated everywhere I go. I see these billboards, you know, like we're in this together, and it frustrates me because it's like, no, we're really not. We have people who are acting totally different than each other, and they hate each other for not acting the same way, and we're not in this together, and your big corporation is not in this with my small business. Like we're just not. We're all living the same nightmare, but it feels a lot different to all of us. Anyway, that's a lot of rambling just to make a couple like important points. I think one of the biggest things for me has been to find people who I admire, who are handling things well, and to look to them. There's some people that make some great videos and stuff. Everything from, you know, great thinkers on YouTube, some of my favorite authors and interviewers, to like a couple people I know that are posting motivational stuff on Facebook or Instagram. I think it's really important to drown yourself in that. What you fill your brain with the most is what you're going to live the most. So I'm focusing a lot on that. Hoping just instead of trying to make some drastic change overnight, like everything's just going to be fine again, because I know that's not how it works. Just making a lot of little changes will help, you know, move things in a really positive direction. Hopefully the universe will give me a little bit of a break, because I think I've had way more in the last 6 weeks than I should have had to handle. And I know a lot of other people have too. So I want to focus a little bit more on actually getting through my grief instead of running away from it. And if I can find a little bit of time off here and there to take to actually like stay in and not go out in public, because people are just losing their minds, I think, right now. I said it before in the last video, and I mean it. Like, I'm always here for anyone that wants to reach out. I'm trying to focus now on the next step, like the even longer term as far as business planning. And I'm really anxious to hear what other small business owners are doing as far as planning for a year from now, year and a half from now that we've seen this whole 2 weeks to flatten the curve thing was BS. You know, 8 months out of work is enough to ruin anybody, but most of us that I know, you know, we're still kicking. So even with the system totally run out of money for us, we're still doing it on our own. So I'd really love people to reach out to me on, you know, how they're planning long term, and like mental health, how you're doing, how you're getting through this, because it's been so hard on all of us in such different ways. I know people that have kids and families, this has just been an utter nightmare for them. But then also people like me who live alone, it's really hard, isolating. So one final thing is that I was listening to this really dramatic and like kind of shocking study this psychologist was talking about that they did, and they did it with rats, and I won't go into like the gory details, but the results of it were that people who have been through something really, really tragic and traumatic, they don't do really well around other people who have also been through the same thing. It makes their anxiety worse, and they can even get more violent. They found the best way to cope is, when you've been through something really difficult, is to be around people who have survived really well and who are doing great in life. That is what helps you also survive and do great. So that's just along the lines of how I said, to look towards the people who are really succeeding, who are doing well. For me, that will not be a business thing anymore because my business is doing okay. It is a mental health thing. So I'm turning my sights towards people who are, not depressed, who are coping well and handling things well, and maybe have more strength and resilience than I do. And those are the people I want to learn from and admire more. That's it. That's where I'm at. I've had so many messages lately from people that I thought it was important to bring these things up again, and I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're doing better than I am, because it's kind of like embarrassing and hard to say that I've done so badly, but I also think it's important to be real, because I constantly, every day, people are like, wow, you're doing great, you're killing it. And it's like, I'm not at all. I'm doing terribly. I've been doing so badly. So I just love what I do. So when you see me post pictures and be excited about it, that's the hour of my day that was awesome. And then the rest of it was really difficult. So as I get busier and busier with work, I look forward to the bigger chunks of my day being awesome and loving every minute of that while it's here. So yeah, that's it. Reach out to me. I would love to hear how you guys are coping and what you're dealing with.